We all chase success, right? We think it's the finish line, the thing that's going to grant us freedom. But what if it doesn't? What if you get there and it feels less like freedom and more like a cage?
Just think about it for a second. That big promotion, that public praise, that goal you finally hit. Instead of relief, you get this quiet, nagging pressure in the back of your mind. A voice that says, okay, now you really have to prove you deserve this. It's like every win just adds another payment to a debt that never, ever gets paid off.
So this feeling, this whole cycle, it has a name, and it's what we're going to unpack today. It's called the performance trap. This is that dangerous place where your identity, who you are, gets so tangled up with your achievements, what you do, that you honestly can't tell the difference anymore. And this leads us to this really critical idea, a performative identity. This is the moment everything flips. You stop just living your life, and you start managing a role, a character. Your success is no longer this natural thing that flows from your talents or your passions. Nope, it becomes evidence. Evidence you have to constantly produce to prove you're worthy.
I mean, look at this contrast. It really lays it all out. On one side, you have authentic living. It's just an expression of who you are. Simple. But on the other side, you're performing. You're manufacturing evidence to maintain a persona. It's the difference between being and proving, and that difference is exhausting.
And this is where it really hurts. This is the cost. When you're stuck in that performance mode, nothing feels real anymore. Your joy isn't spontaneous, it's calculated. You think, how will this look? Taking a break, actually resting? Oh, that feels so dangerous, like you're letting everyone down. And being truly honest about your struggles, that sounds like a massive risk to the carefully built image. Let me just say this. You're not exhausted because you're weak. You are exhausted because you are performing.
Okay, so why? Why do we get caught in this trap in the first place? Where does this deep feeling of being indebted even come from? Well, the roots go way, way deeper than you might think.
At some point in our lives, we all learn these unspoken rules, don't we? That being admired from a distance felt a lot safer than letting someone see you up close, flaws and all. We learned that if you were exceptional, you were protected. If you were useful, maybe you'd earn love. And if you were accomplished, well, at least you wouldn't be invisible. See, these aren't character flaws. They're survival skills we picked up along the way.
And once those beliefs are locked in, it's basically impossible for success to feel like a gift. It can't. It automatically feels like an obligation, a debt you now owe to your parents for their sacrifices, to your past self for all the hard work, to this image you've so painstakingly created.
And let's be really clear here. Ambition is not the enemy. Not at all. The problem is when you're performing, when you're trying to win the approval of an audience, maybe a critical parent or a teacher from your past, that honestly might not even be paying attention anymore. You're playing to an empty theater.
You can only keep that up for so long. Eventually, the weight of the performance just gets too heavy. And when it does, it forces you to face a question. A really, really terrifying question that can be the turning point for everything.
And it's a question that deserves a real pause, because the answer could change everything.
And there it is, the question that cuts right through all the noise. If I stopped doing all of this, what would be left? It hits on our deepest fear, doesn't it? The fear that if we stop the show, if we stop producing the evidence, there will be absolutely nothing underneath, that we'll lose it all.
But here is the most important thing I'm going to say today. Choosing authenticity is not an act of destruction. It is an act of recovery. It's about finding your way back to yourself. It's about remembering that success was supposed to be a tool to build a life, not a substitute for one.
So what does that path forward actually look like? How do you even begin to untangle yourself from the performance and step into something more real, more authentic?
It all comes down to a fundamental shift in the question you're asking yourself. You have to move away from that frantic, anxious energy of, how do I keep deserving this? How do I keep this up? And instead, you have to find the courage to ask a much quieter, more powerful question. What would actually feel true to me, even if nobody ever clapped?
See, the goal isn't to be less successful. The goal is to finally stop confusing how visible you are with how valuable you are. They're not the same thing.
And along those same lines, it's about learning to stop mistaking applause for intimacy. Applause feels good, sure, but it's shallow. It's temporary. Intimacy, real connection with yourself and with others, that's what actually nourishes you.
And really, this is what it all boils down to. You have to stop justifying your own existence through your output. Your worth isn't up for debate. It's inherent. It was never for rent, and it isn't for sale.
Just let that one sink in. This isn't a debt you were born into. It's a role you learned to play. You do not owe the world a performance. You owe yourself a life.
So I'll leave you with this question. What if the real freedom isn't out there somewhere? What if it's right here, and letting your success finally be something you get to enjoy, something you experience, instead of a debt you have to spend the rest of your life repaying? What could change if you really, truly believed that?